Hi, and welcome back to Football Made Simple. A London derby took centre stage in the Premier League when Nuno's Spurs hosted Thomas Tuchel's Chelsea. It promised to be an enticing battle, and in the end Tuchel came out on top, 3-0 thanks to Silva, Conte and Rudiger in a match filled with interesting tactics. The XG indicates it was an easy win for Chelsea, but the XG time map shows just how close it was in the first half. But what tactics did both managers use? Let's take a look. And if you enjoyed this video, you may also enjoy these two upcoming videos focusing on Pep and Tuchel's tactics. So hit subscribe if you don't want to miss out. A quick reminder of the formations used by both sides as seen on the OneFootball app. OneFootball will get you match updates, formation updates, as well as player and team stats and so much more. And the best part is you can get it absolutely free through the sponsored link in the description below. Let's begin by looking at Spurs in possession. Early in the game, Spurs built with a single pivot of Højbjerg with Ndombele and Ali higher, whilst the fullbacks also pushed up fairly high. But this could play into Chelsea's hands at times, who like to defend with a front two, with the third man, off a mount, dropping deep from the front line into the midfield in order to cut out Højbjerg, which would help to slow down Spurs' progression. In addition, Azpilicueta and Alonso from wingback were both highly aggressive in these early phases, ready to push up and immediately press the wingback. This press was highly effective for Chelsea at times, ending with a passes per defensive action of under 10. But in the first half, we saw Nuno use several unique adaptations, with Ali, Kane and Højbjerg being the keys to this. Firstly, rather than remaining as a sole pivot, we would often see Højbjerg drop into the backline to create a 3 vs 2 against this early pressure. And Mount's deeper positioning is usually great to cover the potential weakness of only having 2 in midfield. But now, he often followed Højbjerg, which would flatten out Chelsea's front 3 to create a 3 vs 3, but created problems in midfield as they now only had 2 men. Throughout the match, Kane was keen to drop into the midfield, which could create the overload now in a 3 vs 2. In addition, by playing Emerson at right back, who was willing to push high up early, even Lo Celso, who is a natural central midfielder, looked to tuck in so they could potentially be 4 in midfield, and quick combinations could cause Chelsea all kinds of problems. But Ali in particular was influential. Whether Mount had pushed up to press Højbjerg or not, rather than stay central, Ali tended to be deep left in the build-up. Ali and Reguilon wide is a problem, as Chelsea's narrow defensive shape high up means that they only have 1 man in the wide channels, so now Spurs would have a 2 vs 1. So we often saw Ali receive, with Reguilon being a willing runner beyond. If Christensen and Azpilicueta press high, it would create space in the backline for Spurs to attack. Christensen's struggles were also seen when trying to track the dropping Kane, as he is not as mobile as Azpilicueta, who usually plays in this wide centre-back position and easily has the ability to push up high when necessary and the recovery pace to drop deep. At times, the midfield came across to cover, but as discussed, with Emerson pushing high up early, the Spurs midfielder would now get space in this channel, and this did lead to a chance. Tuchel had to adapt to this, and late in the first half, Mount no longer sat on Højbjerg, instead joining the midfield to more easily track Ali. This could mean Højbjerg had acres of space to receive though. In the second half, Mount was replaced by Conte, who gave them even more coverage against this left-hand side overload. But what did we see from Chelsea? From goal kicks, Chelsea were looking to use their usual shape, with the back three offset to the right, whilst both wing-backs pushed high up the pitch. But particularly in the first half, Spurs were ready to try and stop them at the source, with the front three going man-to-man, and the full-backs also pushing high up, while at times Ali and Ndombele were willing to press higher up, leaving Højbjerg to sweep up behind them. One interesting decision is that for a good portion of the match, Kane defended off the left-hand side. This could have been a ploy to utilize the pace of Son immediately after winning the ball back from a press, in order to get him to bear down on goal. But Mount's positioning could also cause problems for Spurs during these pressing situations. He would often drop into this inside right position early on, leaving Ali in two minds. If Ali always committed to the press, Reguilon would now potentially be 2 versus 1 down in the wide region. But we often saw Ali look to track Mount instead, but now a Chelsea midfielder would be free to receive, and 3 Spurs defenders would immediately be taken out of the game, reducing the efficiency of the press. Nuno couldn't afford to have the first line of pressure to be broken so easily and so often, so as the game went on they sat deeper, and we saw Son being more withdrawn at times to help cover a midfielder. But on a few occasions in the first half, Spurs fell victim to a ploy that Chelsea are so effective with. This is essentially allowed by Chelsea being able to have a minimum of 3 men wide, compared to most teams who have 2. So, the wide centre-back would draw Kane or Lo Celso, and the full-back would often try and back up the press, and now Havertz or Mount would have acres of space to attack, and look to make the difference with. In fact, this Chelsea ploy will be covered in more detail in this video coming to the channel soon. Overall, Chelsea came through strong in the second half, but the first half had plenty of positives to take away from Spurs, especially being their proactive pressing. But what did you make of the match? The table currently looks like this, and I'd love to hear your way too early predictions for the top 4 down below. A quick shout out to my Patreons for helping to make this video possible. If you want to support, head on over to patreon.com/footballmadesimple and you'll get rewards like early access to videos and exclusive content. And a special thanks to my patrons, including my newest ones, Mohammed Habib and Elias. But that's all for today, and remember, keep it simple.